You are listening to episode 10 of the CMD Project. I'm your host, Daniel Lackey. Now, a lot of people throw the term luck around all nilly-willy. They throw it around very freely, as if that person's lucky because they have this, or he's lucky because he obtained that, that family's lucky because they have a boat, whatever it may be. And that irks me. Because I don't believe in luck in the sense that it just purely happens as a majority. I mean, sure, you have lottery winners. That's pure luck. I'll give you that. But for the most part, luck is nothing more than when preparation meets opportunity. And what I mean by that is you've got to be prepared to capitalize on opportunity that presents itself. One of the ways to be prepared is to acknowledge when opportunity presents itself. So today I want to touch on a topic that a lot of newer entrepreneurs are striving for, that they're dreaming for. And that's the coveted $100,000 month. Your first $600,000 month of revenue. How do you get there? And I want to explain how it's not all luck. I want to explain the foundation that goes into it, the preparation, acknowledging opportunity, and even a little bit of faking it until you make it. Now, this can apply to any business, I believe, but my first business was public adjusting. And I remember when I first started my business, I had nothing more than an idea. I heard there could be a lot of money in it. I heard I could also help people while doing so. It sounded great to me. So I called my wife. I said, hey, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to start a business. You know, at first she said I was crazy, but ultimately she supported the idea and supported me in doing so. We had a newborn baby at home, so all my cards were on the table. I was 100% rolling the dice on myself because I was sick and tired of working for the man. I was sick and tired of being on somebody else's time, of punching a clock for somebody else, of listening to somebody else. I wanted to pave my own way in life. I wanted to, at the very least, give it a shot and see if I could be successful at it. The way I saw it, worst case scenario, I can always go back and get another job. But if I didn't roll the dice on myself, I was always going to wonder what if. What could have been? Could I have made it? And I didn't want to live my life that way. Now, as a public adjuster starting out, it's very tough. You do not make money right away. It's not one of those jobs or one of those career paths or businesses where even after you land your first client, you make money right away. From the time you sign that first client, it's going to be about 6 to 8 months before you see payment on that. So going in, I knew it was going to be difficult, and I knew I had to hustle. I knew that all the cards were on the table and that failure was not an option. So I remember starting out in the early days, I was working from my kitchen table in my dining room. That's where I would send my emails. I'd make cold calls from there a lot. But also, I wanted to look busy. And I remember most days I would just leave the house. And I would go to a neighborhood or a parking lot, and I would park and make cold calls. I would cold call roofers, plumbers, mitigation companies, property managers, real estate agents, anybody who I thought could lead me to claims, anybody that I thought might be a good referral partner for me. I would also go out and knock doors. I would drive around neighborhoods. I would look for homes with tarps on the roof, and I would knock on doors. And I remember that's one of the first claims I ever landed. I still remember the guy's name, Dario. Knocked on his door. I saw a tarp on his roof, first of all. Knocked on his door. He answered. The man barely spoke a lick of English, but just enough to where I can explain to him what I do and how I could help him. And after about a 40-minute conversation, he was on board. We got onto his claim, and we took him from a full denial to $50,000. He had enough money to replace his roof. He was very grateful, and I was very grateful as well for the opportunity to help the man. That was one of the first times I signed a claim, worked it, and successfully settled it. And I remember it was just a confidence booster for me. It was a moment of, I can do this. In addition to that, with all the cold calls, I was finally landing lunches with roofers, mitigation companies. We would meet. I would explain to them how we could help them with denied or underpaid claims, to where ultimately they would get the job once the claim settles. I realized quickly that when I'm approaching people, I've got to bring value to them. I can't just say, give me, give me, give me. I've got to be able to offer something in return. So the fact that I was able to offer this service to homeowners, 100% contingency, nothing out of pocket, as well as almost always ensure that the roofers get that job, it made me valuable. And when they took the time to listen to my pitch, they saw the value a lot of times, and I started getting referrals. And I started making money after about 6 to 8 months. First it started out to where I had replaced my income from my job I had previously, about $5,000-$6,000 a month. So at that point I said, this is great. I'm paying my bills, food's on the table. I was happy, but I wanted more. So I worked harder, made more calls, did more lunches, attended a lot of network events. And then after about a year and a half, I was making $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 months. And now bear in mind, when I say these numbers, it's revenue. It's not what I pocketed. It's what my business brought in. Now that being said, I do keep a pretty lean machine. I do keep my overhead costs as low as possible. So I was pocketing about 60%, sometimes 70% of this money. But the 10s and the 15s and the $20,000 months were rolling in. It would fluctuate, 1 month 20, 1 month 10, another 20, another 15. But I couldn't break past that for a good while. The connections I would make, they would send me claims, they'd send me leads, but it was always in little batches, nothing of pure volume. And I could have stopped there. I could have gotten comfortable and I could have said, 15K is great. I'm keeping 60% of it, and stopped right there and just rode that wave. But I wanted more. So I continued the cold calls. I continued the networking. And the way that I made my first $100,000 month was I called a roofer out of the blue and asked him to go to lunch. I explained what I do. He was familiar with our services. He said he was currently working with one, but wasn't very pleased with the service that they offered. So we went out to lunch. I think it was a BJ's Brew House. Had a couple beers, maybe a couple burgers at the time. And then I didn't hear from the guy for a while. Some months went by. I figured, another one that I didn't land. And I remember specifically, it was a few months after that, me and my wife and my daughter had gone up to North Carolina on vacation, and I got a call from him. And he said, hey, we just had a hailstorm hit my neighborhood. How many claims can you handle? And what I told him at the time was a lie. I said, I can handle as many claims as you can send me. I didn't have the manpower. I was still a solo practitioner, working by myself, A to Z. But the one thing I knew is that this was an opportunity. This was the opportunity I had been waiting for, and I was going to make it work no matter what. So up to this point, I had created sort of alliances with my competition, which is why I always say it's good to keep your competition close, because you never, ever know what those opportunities are going to lead to either. So I didn't call them in right away. I wanted to see how many claims he was going to send over. And within a few hours of that phone call, I got about 10 emails with homeowners' information, phone numbers, emails, addresses, and I started reaching out. I can handle 10 myself. But then a few hours later, I got another 10. And at that point, I had to call a couple buddies who were in the industry, and I worked out a deal. I said, hey, I'll give you 20% if you help me scope these, take photos, put a report together. You get 20%. I'm just handing it to you. I then had a couple buddies who I met who wrote estimates and Xactimate. So I called them up and I said, hey, how much are you writing estimates for? $200-300 a pop, I think is what it was. So I said, fair, that's fine. So I hired them on to do estimates. I think all in all, we got about 50 hail claims off of this. And each hail claim was settling for around $30,000 to $40,000. We were on for 20% of what we recovered. After our fee, the homeowner was left with enough to do the roof, put it back to pre-loss condition. They were happy. The roofer was happy because he got the job. And for the first time in my career, we made well over six figures within a 30-day period. It was a real eye-opening moment for me because I realized that the hard work's paying off, that I can get to this $100,000 in a month. You know, I almost did get comfortable at the 20. I almost did get comfortable at the 10. But the thing that came with the $100,000 month that not a lot of people talk about is it set a new standard. Because now I was expected to do $100,000 every month. At least in my eyes, I was. And I was unable to recreate that for a long time. It was probably well over a year before I had another $100,000 month. And the point I'm trying to make here is that even when you're on top of the mountain, especially in business, it doesn't always last forever. A lot of times it's very short-lived. Now, today I am replicating this, not every month, but I am replicating it pretty consistently. And this year we have finally hit $1 million in revenue for the first time. So the point I'm really trying to make here is that it's not luck. I mean, sure, you can call it luck, but it's preparation. It's the foundation built, the processes you put into place, and then it's opportunity. And you can create that opportunity by making cold calls. You can create that opportunity by going to networking events. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're not doing these things, if you're not out there networking, if you're not cold calling, if you're not knocking doors, SEO, whatever it may be, you're not going to make it. If you're uncomfortable hearing the word no, you're not going to make it. But here's the point too, is that becoming a successful entrepreneur, yes, it's hard work. Yes, it's long hours. But it's quite a simple formula. Really, it boils down to four things. You need the two things we spoke of today: preparation and opportunity. You need a product or a service to sell, and then you need the ability to not give up. If you can just say no, fuck this, I'm not going to quit, I'm not going to settle. No matter how many no's you get, no matter how much you get told to fuck off or pound sand, if you can add that on to the other three and just not give up, you are going to find some sort of success in entrepreneurship. Now, I'm not promising $100,000 months. I'm not promising $1 million years. I'm not promising any of that. But at the very minimum, be able to pay your bills and be able to sustain the same quality of life that you had punching a clock for somebody else. Easily obtainable. And it doesn't matter what you do. You don't need a college degree these days. You don't need anything. The only thing you need are the four things that I said. That is literally the fucking recipe for entrepreneurship. That is all that it takes. And sure, you might say, oh, you got lucky making that phone call. You made $100K off of one phone call. Well, here's the caveat to that. I didn't make $100K in a month 2 days after that phone call. It took months. It took lunches. And it also took thousands and thousands of phone calls where I was told no before that. So it's not pure luck. There's no such thing as pure luck unless you're winning the fucking lottery. Preparation, opportunity, guys. At the end of the day, guys, this is not rocket science. All it takes is grit, determination, and not giving up. Do not give up. You might feel like giving up, but don't give up. I heard this great quote. I don't know who it's by, but it goes something along the lines of give up tomorrow. If you can keep giving up tomorrow, you'll find success and you'll never quit. Because I've felt like giving up. I mean, hell, to this day, there's times I feel like giving up, but I don't. I keep going And that's what you need to do as a man, for your family, for your children. You have to keep fucking going. You need grit. You need tenacity. But here's the point, guys. Don't give up. Don't quit. Even if life is feeling hopeless, it's got you down. Keep going. Go till tomorrow. Quit tomorrow. Quit the day after that, but don't fucking quit today. You've got to have that tenacity. You've got to have that grit. Nothing is going to fucking stop you. Nothing is going to stand in your goddamn way from giving your family and your children the life that they deserve. But as a man, it is up to you. It's up to you to make that happen. Nobody's going to give you a fucking handout. Nobody's going to come save you. You've got to make that happen. How you do it, I don't know, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. Until next time.